Thank you, and welcome to EWTN Live. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa, and tonight we'll be looking at the life, mission, and possible canonization of Monsignor Aloysius Schwartz, who ministered to poor and orphan children in post-war Korea. But before we do that, I want to spend just a few minutes with EWTN's Vice President of Programming and Production, Mr. Peter Gagnon, find out about some new shows coming to EWTN and give you a heads up on it. Peter, what you got for us today?
So first of all, I want to encourage the people who are tuning in tonight to really watch this program and watch the documentary that's going to air later. I had a chance to go visit one of the girls' towns in Chalco, Mexico, and it was an overwhelming experience.
They're talking about the documentary that'll be about Monsignor Schwartz and the sisters doing that work.
Correct. It airs later tonight. It debuts there. So I was there with the EWTN crew, and actually just people are going to be really touched after this program and watching that documentary. Another thing that we want to highlight is next week we're going to debut another mini-series that EWTN produced with Jason Craig called Rites of Passage, Leaving Boyhood Behind. Jason leads a ministry for men, and you know we have a crisis in fatherhood in our world right now. So, and because of that, there's been a lack of boys being mentored to understand what it means to become a truly Catholic man.
Yes.
And so Jason led this retreat for men, and EWTN shot it and put this documentary together. And I would just implore fathers out there especially to spend your time this week. Wives, encourage your husbands, say, for Lent, let's watch this miniseries together. And so it'll air Sunday night. Jason is on Life on the Rock. And then Monday through Friday, we're going to air Rites of Passage. So it's really a fantastic program. So.
Great. Oh, looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And then secondly, we also have a new series beginning in April. I want to give people a heads up on that with Dr. Scott Hahn called The Fourth Cup, based upon a talk he gave and a new book he has out on it, looking at the Eucharist and the cross and the historical development through the Old Testament. Sure. So another fantastic series with Dr. Hahn, who's very, very popular.
Yeah, exactly.
So people should look for that beginning in April. And then also in April, we'll have new episodes of Living Right with Dr. Ray. So, you know, Dr. Ray, we have a lot of fun. He has a lot of fun on his programs. He has
I can't say his name without starting to laugh.
Exactly, exactly. And he's just some really great guests this time and really super topics. A couple of them focused on marriage and what do you do when devotion to the spouses that you have, and especially if you have to care for one for an extended period of time, how to deal with children in different areas, and really some encouraging programs about young people who are doing really good work, especially in the pro-life area as well. So that's new episodes in April as well, so people should go to our website, EWTN.com, to find information about all these programs.
Excellent, excellent. Look forward to that. And also that video that you were talking was called Unfinished Symphony, about Father Aloysius Schwartz. Will be at 10 p.m. Eastern Time tonight here on EWTN. Thank you, and we'll be back in just a minute to talk to the guests who know a lot more about Monsignor Schwartz and the great work that he's done. So please stay with us. Welcome back. As we always say here at EWTN, we bring you guests from all over the world, and we are doing that. We said at the top of the show we'll be talking about Monsignor Aloysius Schwartz, who fulfilled an obscure but very important mission in a time and place that was anything but inviting. Tonight, I want to hear about the life, and work of this possible future saint from people who knew him and worked directly with him on the ground in post-war Korea. So please welcome two benefactors of the Sisters of Mary, Tom and Gloria Sullivan, and the General Counselor of the Sisters of Mary, Sister Margie Cheong. Welcome here. Good to have y'all. Good to have Sister. That's good. We don't want to get too untethered. Good to have you here. Good to have you. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
We're honored to be here.
Now, Sister, you, I think, get the Long Distance Award. Where did you come from to get here?
From Mexico City.
Mexico City. So that's longer than y'all.
Yes.
And y'all live where?
Well, we live in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida.
Okay. So you live at a fairly great distance.
Yes.
What are you doing here together?
It's a very long story.
That's a long story.
Well, let's get down to the nub of it, because tonight we're going to be showing the wonderful video called Unfinished Symphony about this work. But how did you first get in contact with the sisters?
Well, it started out on an evening when I read an article in the local newspaper in Washington, D.C. We were living in Washington at that time, and the paper had a picture of a sister, one of the Sisters of Mary, playing soccer with a bunch of young boys. And I had that similar experience as a young boy. The sisters would come in the schoolyard and play soccer with us. So I was immediately attracted to read the story. I read the story, and the story really touched my heart. And subsequently, I asked Glory to read the same story and get her reaction if it also touched her heart.
Okay. So from there, you went to where? How'd you get in contact with the sisters?
Well, I finished reading the story and said to Tom, my goodness, this is something unbelievable. I wonder how this man wrote the story. And so we contacted him the next day and made arrangements to have dinner with him. And he talked and talked and talked and said, I have been to Korea. I have seen this. It's a miracle in action. You have to go see it.
Yes.
Okay. So you went to Korea?
No, not right
not
away,
yet.
because we had children
At home.
and a small business that we were starting. And so we sent a check in, a modest check, to the headquarters in Washington, D.C., which is now known as World Villages for Children.
Okay.
Okay. That's the U.S. office of the Sisters of Mary.
Okay.
And so sent a small check in, and subsequently a couple more little checks, and then eventually we got a call from the office that Father Schwartz was going to be in town to make his annual retreat and visit the office for a week, and he would like to get together and meet us.
Okay.
So we invited him out to the house for dinner, and he came out, and we had the first evening with him, which was just very inspiring. Here was this humble, holy priest, and he intrigued us and our 3 children at the dinner table. Afterwards, we went into the family room, and the children came in and sat at his feet. And we were so impressed that he had this charism that he attracted these children of ours. And normally they would have excused themselves and wanted to go to bed, but they sat and listened to him talking about his children in Korea. Well, subsequently, as he left that evening, Gloria and I, at the door, when we closed the door, we simultaneously said, "We've just met a saint."
It was very apparent to us.
It was very apparent to us. What a holy man who sacrificed his whole life. And you'll see more on the documentary this evening, later on, the Unfinished Symphony. But this man gave up everything. He was born and raised in Washington, D.C. He went to the seminary and became a missionary, went to Korea after the Korean War. And you had this awful situation with literally hundreds of thousands of children whose families have been wiped out.
Even people who remember watching the old comedy MASH,
Yes.
which was
Yes.
about the war. The priest there, Father Mulcahy,
Yes.
also worked with orphans because there were just overwhelming numbers of orphans.
Yes.
In the beginning in Korea, there were thousands of children that were abandoned or without families, living in the streets and the sewers, and it was unbelievable. So Father had hundreds and hundreds of children.
Basically, what happened was we went over in when our children were off to college, we went over to Korea in 1988 to see it. And the program is so miraculous, it's hard to understand unless you really see it.
Well, that's where I want to bring in Sister, because Sister Margie, you were one of the very early members of this Order of Sisters, right?
Yes.
Not from Korea, maybe from Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you enter the community?
I entered in 1983.
83. Oh, okay. So you've been in, and when did the community get started?
1964.
64.
Yeah, 55 years ago.
Okay. So, and you are yourself from Korea?
Yes, from Busan City.
Okay, Busan City. And you've been now working with the children, with these orphans. One of the things I know from our earlier conversation is that these are children who are from extreme poverty. They have nothing, and there's no one who helps them. They have no family members. Tell us a little bit about what is going on that you're doing with these extremely poor children.
Yes, maybe 55 years ago, it was after Korean Civil War. We had many orphans. But the time goes by, the orphans are getting lesser, and then we had more children coming from unwed mothers.
Sure.
So
sure.
Father R started to have pro-life activities, and we had unwed mother's house, and we rescued 5,000 babies
Wow.
with that program.
Yeah.
So we have many graduates who are orphans, but many are coming from unwed mothers from Korea.
Sure.
But other countries have different character, and we have students. They have families, but they are poor.
Yes. So you are not only in Korea anymore. How many countries are your sisters working in?
We are now in 7 countries.
7 countries. Mexico is obviously one of them.
Yes, Mexico, Guatemala,
Right.
Honduras, Brazil, Philippines, and Tanzania.
Tanzania and Africa.
Yeah.
So you're also in Asia, the Americas, and now Africa.
Yes.
This is fairly widespread, and the challenges for children are going to vary in each culture, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is it that you do for them? What do you do for the children?
We sisters, especially Father R, realized that for our poor children, they need mother's love. So Sisters of Mary's vocation is mother's vocation. We are religious, but we dedicate our life to take care of them.
Sure.
So we do everything for them.
Yeah, no doubt.
Usually they are living in with us in boarding school, 5 years to finish their study until senior high school. So we sisters are with them. We pray 3 hours a day, and rest of the time we are with them to teach them, to play with them, to laugh and to work. We do everything for them.
And one of the things that I know has very much impressed you two is that the education that these children receive really is transformative. It's an education that gets them out of the poverty so they can become contributors to society.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, that's the best word. The sisters transform these poorest of the poor children into lay apostles by teaching them spirituality, okay? They teach them academics, they teach them vocational skills, and they really take this young person who has probably never slept in a bed, slept on the floor as a youngster. It's the first time they've ever slept in a bed when they come to the sisters. They've never seen a shower. They don't know a bathroom. So the sisters take this human being, transform him, and make him into just an outstanding lay apostle and an outstanding citizen. Yeah. These young people become teachers and medical doctors and priests and nuns and all types of wonderful capabilities.
Well, one of the people who's very well known here at EWTN, very much loved, is Father Ho Lung.
Yes.
And you were saying that a number of the graduates from the orphanages, these are now members of his religious order.
Yes.
Yes.
We have almost 30 young men from the Sisters of Mary that are with Father Ho Lung. As a matter of fact, Father Ho Lung's secretary, Brother Ronell, is a very, very, very dear man who was raised in the Philippines and is now his secretary.
And what's interesting about them is that they also are committed to serving the poorest people.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
that so that those who've graduated from that have a variety of ways of giving back.
Right.
Some as these religious with Father Ho Lung in Jamaica and elsewhere, as well as contributing by becoming parents themselves.
Yes.
And you mentioned also, I think, a lot of the young people from Korea end up becoming engineers. They've studied a lot of engineering.
We have everything.
We have
Yeah.
everything.
We have
Well,
everything.
yes,
we have nurses, we have doctors, we have engineers, we
we
have
have
teachers.
We have
So
three
many.
three nurses
In
in
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville with us, working at St. Vincent's Medical Center.
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yes,
Right.
Jacksonville, Florida. Right. And we're blessed to have three of the graduates here in the audience.
Yes.
One is a professor at the University of Utah State.
Okay.
The other one is a computer science major who has left the computer field and is helping the sisters down in Mexico. And then the third one is a young lady from Korea, and she is the founder of a semiconductor company, okay?
Yeah.
And she's the CFO of that company.
So there's a wide variety of ways that these young people have shown themselves to be transformed by that maternal love that the sisters show.
Yes.
We'd like to give just a little bit of a clip from the video of Unfinished Symphony. This is the documentary we're talking about, and Father Al talks about how he got the Korean orphanage to start. So this is about him too, so let's take a look.
It was a struggle every inch of the way. We had tremendous opposition in the beginning. Initially, this work was being carried on by a very well-known gangster here in the Busan area. The city officials were very concerned, not so much about the children, not so much about the beggars on the streets, but they're very concerned about keeping the streets clean. Beggars, orphan children on the streets, homeless boys. They were considered an eyesore by the city authorities. So they entrusted this work to a gangster who had a group of thugs working with him, and they would round up these children and put them in a camp which can best be described as a concentration camp. And these people, these children, were concentrated there, maybe 700, 800,000 of them. Conditions were appalling. There were frequent beatings, killings, people dying of neglect, of hunger, of sickness. And I have documented proof of all this. So we called the conditions of this camp to the attention of the mayor, to the civil authorities. And they expressed concern. Their biggest objection about taking any effective action was that this gangster, with all his faults, at least he kept the streets of the city clean, and there was no one else to do this work. So I told the mayor if this was the only objection, we would do it. Turn the children over to me and the sisters, and we would do it. So the mayor was very impressed, and after a great deal of discussion and planning, we set up a boys' town, and effectively the mayor turned these children over to us. And of course, this gangster didn't take the sitting down. He reacted very violently, and it was a very protracted war. But fortunately, the situation has been happily resolved, and this work now is officially entrusted to us.
So there are no more gangsters involved?
No.
Sister?
No, not
No?
now.
Okay,
Thanks
good. You
be to
got that
God.
clear.
They run into various difficulties and challenges.
Yeah.
All right, but
gangsters.
it's not Father Schwartz getting beat up.
Okay.
Okay.
He
Okay.
did.
But one of the points I wanted to make is the magnitude of the program is there's 22,500 high school students in residence
Today.
with the sisters in these 15 locations.
Okay.
All right?
15 locations in 7 different countries.
Correct. Right. And sister has responsibility for about 10,000 of the children in Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and Brazil, which is quite an undertaking.
Okay. Yeah, well, so this, it's a challenging thing, and the need for this work is tremendous.
Oh, yes.
The alternatives for the children go all the way from starvation in some cases. In other cases, they get sold into slavery,
Right.
either for hard labor or for the sex trade.
That's right.
This is a reality in a lot of these countries.
And they also get into the drug trade.
Exactly. I was going to say the drug trade, and some of them get recruited to be violent. And I knew of one country where the police would just go look for them at night and shoot them.
Yeah.
Said it's like shooting pigs.
In Brazil.
That's how they said that.
Right.
Because there are a lot of children from unmarried parents, and they're just on the street, and they said, well, they're just animals, so they just shoot them. I mean, those are the alternatives to this kind of service. And this is very important.
It's really difficult for the people here in the United States to imagine this.
I know.
Because we really don't have the kind of poverty that you see in Africa or in Mexico,
Honduras.
Honduras.
Honduras
I mean,
is
the
horrible.
poverty there is so more egregious than it is here in the United States. And as I said it earlier, to appreciate it, you really must come to the program, and then you can see it. We do a pilgrimage in June, June 21 to 24, and I hope you're going to be able to be with us.
God willing.
Wonderful. Okay, so we will have you as one of our chaplains at June 21 to 24. And if anybody is really interested in joining us, we welcome all of your viewers to come with us to see it. And it's Father Schwartz told Gloria and I that we really needed to come to see it, and that's what we did in 1988, and that opportunity really made us great supporters of this program.
Yeah.
With our prayers and with financial support.
Sure.
Because
And this and there's not a lot of overhead for giving the gifts that go to them, go to the work with the kids. That's one of the.
Well, but because the sisters work for free,
Right.
They've taken a vow of poverty.
Right.
Okay. The cost to operate the facility, operational cost now, is $1,496 per child per year. And that's,
Amazing.
it's
It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, who can do that?
Well,
I mean,
well, you can't send a kid to grammar school. I mean, even
Fun.
in my day,
Yes.
you know, you could go to grammar school for $2 a month in the Catholic
Not
schools.
anymore.
Not anymore. So this is food, housing, and education all combined. We'd like to take just a little bit more time for another clip of, again, Father Al himself.
Wonderful.
You know, one of these videos of him talking about the kids personally. So let's take a look at Father Al.
또한 장래의 일에 대하여 생각할 때 큰 희망 가지고 있습니다. 내 희망은 보통 가정의 아버지 희망과 똑같습니다. 보통 가정은 아버지가 자기 자식들을 보고 무엇을 원합니까? 그 자식들이 먼저 건강하고 아주 재미있게 살고 교육 잘 받고 그리고 나중에 그 사회에 들어가서 그 잘 취직하고 잘 사는 것을 바랍니다. 제가 우리 아이들 보고 이런 기대와 이런 희망을 가지고 있습니다.
Sister, it's obviously Father is speaking in Korean, and we have the subtitles. Was his Korean good?
His Korean was very, very good.
Oh, that's wonderful.
He studies an hour every day.
So, he did not grow up speaking Korean, and he had to learn it when he got there. So, that's an extra kind of giving of himself to learn a very difficult language. A lot of folks don't appreciate, but Korean is one of the more difficult languages in the world. So it's not a simple language. So that's a great thing that he cared enough.
Yeah, another kind of expression of his love
Exactly.
for Koreans. That he speaks very good Korean. Yes.
But yeah, he talked about how he was like a father. He just had that love of a father for these kids who were helpless, and with the sisters having that motherly role. This is what makes possible the healing of any lack of family in the past, and gives them that it doesn't matter where you came from, we love you.
Yeah.
And that's what's key. That's what's
Just
key.
think of the impact on the world of 170,000 graduates of this program.
That's right.
Amazing.
Yes.
Beautiful children,
It is.
young people.
And so this is something that we definitely need to see more of in these countries that are economically still very challenged.
Yes.
I think that's even part of the issue with a lot of the people coming into the country illegally.
Yes.
It's so desperate
It is.
in their home countries.
This shows you the need.
Yeah. And this is a way that, like, who's going to be left in the country? We need this kind of experience. And who was Sister Maria Cho?
Superior General. She cannot come this time.
Yeah, but she's the Superior General.
Yeah.
How long has she been in the community?
She's like 37 years.
37 years, so she's not quite from the very start. But we have a little bit of Sister Maria Cho and a little clip of her talking about what it means to have a family unit and what they're providing. Let's take a quick look at Sister Cho.
Even he was very sick during that time. He never neglected the duties. For example, like saying mass, hearing confession, and giving sermon to the sisters. Even his voice was very weak, and also recording his voice for the publishing "Killing Me Softly," the book during that time. And of course, we saw many times he's in the chapel praying. So he was as if like, even though he was very sick, he did all things. I think that's what I admire him. I admire of him, how he did. Yeah.
She mentioned that Father was very sick. What was he sick with?
Oh, Father had Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. He was diagnosed Well, we were in Washington at the same time the father was diagnosed, and it was horrible. But he writes,
a lot of folks don't realize what a difficult disease that is.
It's horrible.
It's painful, and it takes a while to die.
3 years.
Yeah, so it's and 3 years of a lot of pain.
In Killing Me Softly, Father talks about, he compares the 3 years of suffering with ALS to Christ's suffering on the cross.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a horrible disease.
A lot of others who've had it that I've known say the same thing, that it's just
awful.
Really
well,
difficult.
it's dehumanizing because you're unable to do anything for yourself, but your mind is as alert as ever.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to give up all your human capabilities and be totally dependent upon others.
Yeah. And as Sister said, as long as he kept doing as much as he could until he absolutely couldn't, and it was very much committed to his life of prayer.
Well, and he did it up until his death.
9 days before
he went
died.
and started up the program in Mexico, where Sister has 3,500 girls, and he started that project when he had ALS in the final stages. And that was his Unfinished Symphony, because he knew that he was going to not be alive to finish that program, and that's why he called it his Unfinished Symphony.
And he entrusted it to the sisters.
Yes. And
well, we need to take a little bit of a break. We want you to look up more about World Villages for Children. You can go to worldvillages.org, worldvillages.org/donation -EWTN. And there's also a phone number you can call, 866-947-9004, to find out more about it. So take a look at that information, and we'll be back in a couple minutes with your calls and questions, as well as those from our studio audience. So please stay with us. Right, welcome back. Welcome back. You ready for some questions?
yes,
Absolutely.
Let's giddy up. We'll start
Absolutely.
off with Donna. Donna, where are you calling from?
Hi, Garden City, New York.
Garden City, New York, eh? And what
Yes.
is your question or comment?
Well, it's my son, Kevin McMaster, and he's 8 years old, and he wanted to tell you a quick story about this summer. Here, he'll say it. Go ahead, Kevin. Hello.
Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Good.
What can we do for you this fine evening?
So I am from St. Joseph's Parish, and I was adopted from an orphanage. And we prayed for this baby named Clara, and she was from Korea, and they shut down all the to get babies from there. They shut it down, and then once I prayed, it opened back up.
Okay, so you and you were adopted yourself?
Yes.
Do you like the people you're living with? Your mom and dad?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Well, be good to them.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you, Donna, also. I have a question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
I'm from San Francisco.
All right. And your question or comment?
Sure. I'd like to hear more about the types of things that graduates of your program do once they've left, the types of things they become and things they achieve.
Okay.
All right.
Well, what the sisters have done is they've transformed 170,000 young people from the poorest of the poor into outstanding lay apostolate, like the brothers at Father Ho Lung's Missionaries of the Poor. There's priests all over the world now. In Mexico, we have priests. Philippines, Korea, they've become priests. We have a number of the young ladies have gone on to become Sisters of Mary. So these transformations into the religious life, plus we have not only religious, but we have teachers, we have nurses. We're blessed to have 3 nurses in Jacksonville, Florida, as I said earlier. Okay. We have 3 outstanding graduates here.
Right.
If the camera could pick up our 3.
Well, they want to stay on you for now, so we'll just let them, because those folks are shy.
But anyway, the transformation from this utter poverty and hopelessness to outstanding human beings, particularly the lay apostolate aspect of it, is so impressive, and that's what's motivated Gloria and I over the past 40 years to be people who pray for the sisters. They need prayers. They also need money. And it's awesome to see the results in person, to see this transformation.
Did you have anything to add to that, sister?
Yes, maybe like as a mother, sister, there are graduates who are very successful. There are graduates who are still suffering, but I always have hope because in their heart there is another kind of seed, that's faith and love. So someday they will be changing, their life will be totally different. So we always pray for them.
Yeah, because it's, even after they've left you, I mean, as much, any parent knows that, you do what you can, but then the child has to make a number of his or her own decisions about how they're going to live, and then they also have to cope with sometimes failure that also hits, and all those things continue to be causes of anxiety for parents.
Yes, they are in our heart, and we are always praying for them, and we like to encourage them that until the end, until we will go to God together.
Exactly. And that's the ultimate goal here, is for all of us to get to be with our Lord. And the most important thing about raising any child, you get to heaven. The rest of it is all fluff.
Right.
Sir, where are you from?
Westminster, Maryland.
Westminster, Maryland. Good to have you here. And what can we do for you? What question do you have? Or
2 questions. One, talking to the graduates that are here, they always want to give back to their family. Could you elaborate on that, sister? And the second question is how do you measure your effectiveness with the children?
Well, that's, sister, so the first one is they want to give back to their families. How does that come across for them?
There are so many graduates that are coming back, and they are becoming donors for us. And not only materially, but they share their talents, and they are concerned about their brothers and sisters, and they pray also.
And some of them still have family members living in great poverty.
Yes.
And they reach out to them too, don't they?
Yes, they are trying to help their own family too, to break their circle of poverty. That's the first thing that they do, and then they look back, Sisters of Mary program.
Okay, cool.
That's one of the miracles of the program, is to watch these children when they leave, the sisters go back, first of all, get a job, and the money that they make goes back to their families to help break the poverty cycle. So it's not unusual for one graduate to be able to put her siblings through school and to move the parents off of a dump, let's say in Metro Manila, and into a home. That's the miracle.
And
it's
when
not
you
just,
say they live in a dump, you don't mean it
Oh, yes.
like in a movie. You mean an actual garbage dump.
an actual garbage dump.
That's where they make
Yes.
their living,
Yes.
going through the garbage.
Recycling the garbage for food.
And they live there.
Yep.
In Manila, when we visited a number of years ago, there were 3,000 families living on what they called Tondo, Smoky
Smoky
Mountain.
Mountain.
And that's Manila's not the only city
No.
No.
where people live in the garbage dump. Throwing away cardboard is building
It's
material.
treasure.
Yes.
Yes, it's a
Yes.
house.
So this is we're talking very serious poverty.
Oh, yeah.
One of our daughters will tell you she has been to hell, and it was at Smoky Mountain in the Philippines. She was just paralyzed with fear and recognition of the poverty that really exists in our world today.
Back in home in Chicago, the highest point in the city is Mount Trashmore. Wow. It's near where my relatives are, and it stinks at a distance.
Yes.
Yet alone to live in it.
Yes.
That's something that's important for us to understand. We have Debbie on the line. Debbie, where are you calling from?
Hi, Dripping Springs, Texas.
Oh, great. Good to have somebody calling from the Republic. So what is your question?
Well, first, I'd like to thank them for all that they do. And my question is, what is the average age of the children you take in and work with? Okay. And thank you. Keep up the good work, everybody.
Thank you, Debbie. Thanks for calling in. So what's the average age of the children?
From 12 to 18.
So from 12 to 18.
Teenagers.
Yeah, so that's a very specialized group. And this, for most, if they get to go to school, this will be as high as some of them go. Or if they go to college, it's only because this opportunity makes it possible. That'd be correct? And when some of these countries, like in Mexico, do they have schools that they come from, like, grammar schools or anything?
Usually we accept students from grammar school because we have a big numbers. We cannot take care of small children.
Oh, okay.
So when they enter middle school, we accept the first year of middle school to senior high school. So within 5 years, they can finish their 6-year studies.
Okay.
Remember, they have no televisions, they have no cell phones, they have no video games. They go to school from 6:30 in the morning and lights out is 9:30 at night. And they go 6 days a week. So that in 5 years, really, they're getting the equivalent of 6 years worth of education. It's amazing.
That's an important thing, because I've mentioned many times on other programs, there's a wonderful book written about American children. It's called The Dumbest Generation. And the reason that there is a dumbing down, that one of the biggest factors was the social media.
Right.
The cell phone, and then of course television and all that. But having the kids focused is a great thing. What about sports? Do they do sports?
Yeah, our children usually they have 4 activities every day. It's first they study, and next they pray, and they work together. We don't need another workers to clean. They can clean their surroundings, and they play.
Yeah, so that's a balance of work, play, prayer, and study.
Yeah.
Well, Father, if you were able...
I was going to say that these children have the opportunity to learn vocational skills, to learn how to play a musical instrument, and to have the academics. But to me, it's so impressive to see the vocational skills that they're taught. You know, the boys learn auto mechanics and many things applicable to them, welding and things of this nature, that they could use in their regular life. The girls make all their own clothes. And so when you go there, you see the girls making their own clothes, making their bed linens. They learn these vocational skills. They learn how to run a bakery. They bake the food, okay? They learn how to serve in a kitchen and how to help out there. They help in the medical office so they can learn about medical aspects of life. They work in the dental office. So these children gain a wealth of experience.
I think that is also something that's missing in the education offered here in general. There's not enough of that kind of vocational training.
Right.
The focus on everybody going to college is just unrealistic.
Yes.
A lot of people really don't want to go to college.
Right.
You know, they really would like to be plumbers and electricians and carpenters, mechanics. It's just some folks just love, that's what they feel most at home doing. And so having that opportunity is an important thing, as well as for the academic possibilities for those who want an academic life.
Yes, well, what it helps them experience what it's like to do carpentry work, to be a mechanic. And some of them might choose that vocation, but then they also find out that that's not their calling.
Yes.
You know, so it's a fabulous program, but you have to have it in residential, and you have to have 6 days a week. You have to have them up at 6:30 and going till 9:30 in a program structure, and not sitting around watching TV. You know, so it's.
You know, having been taught by sisters in grammar school, I have zero difficulty believing that you've got a well-structured day there, and that there's not much time to lollygag around.
You're right.
I described my grammar school experience when I did go to Catholic school. I went a couple years of public and then 6 years of Catholic grammar school. And there were 50 kids in every class and one nun. And we kids were totally outnumbered by the nun.
I had the same experience.
Yeah.
Well, but these children, when you get to come in June and see the experience, okay, you'll see children that are so appreciative of what they're being given by the sisters, because they're being given this love by the sisters who are the mothers. But the sisters hire the teachers, okay? They hire the coaches, they hire the other professionals to provide the academic, to provide the musical capability, to teach them to sing and dance.
Skills.
Yes.
Are you a carpenter yourself, sister?
No.
No,
I
paint.
Carpentry?
I paint.
She paints.
You paint, okay.
Yes.
So, you know, so you wouldn't be teaching the carpentry classes.
Gardening, I am working, after class, I work with the girls to take care of the garden and painting and cleaning together. Yeah.
Do you raise a lot of your own vegetables?
Yes, we do.
Cool.
They have a greenhouse.
Yes, well, they teach the children
Everything.
to raise vegetables, and then they eat those vegetables.
That's what I like to raise vegetables for.
Yes.
It's my favorite reason to raise vegetables.
Yes,
The program is really a miracle in action. You just have to see it to believe it. You really do.
Do they also raise animals for, you know, like eggs and meat and things?
No,
so just
animals
do
we
gardening.
don't.
The boys have a fish.
Yeah, fish farm.
They have a fish farm,
pond.
or the boys
Okay.
at
That's
Guadalajara.
like industrial. It's a
Yes.
kind of workshop.
All right.
Yes.
Hard to herd them, but you won't be roping and branding them. But yeah, that's again, these are a variety of good skills to have.
Right.
Now, we also have a couple of books by Monsignor Schwartz.
Right.
I just want to mention those because you can get them at our religious catalog. One is called The Starved and the Silent. It's about his work in Korea.
That was his first book.
Yes, right. And this is describing his own experience of working with them, and that's catalog number 287. But then there's also this other one called Killing Me Softly, and this is more of his biography.
Yes.
And the Killing Softly is that experience of dying of Lou Gehrig's disease.
Right.
Correct.
He finished that 9 days before he died.
Did he?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is, something of a heroic death as well as a heroic life. And, this is, he's already been, the cause is actually moving along.
Yes.
It's gone to Rome, and they've declared him venerable, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the first step. Now it's folks seeking his intercession for various miracles, and any favors that are known should be reported to the sisters.
Right.
And he's also the first priest to be declared venerable from Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Who would have thought it?
I know, such a place.
No, I do point out that he had to leave Washington and go all the way to Korea to become a saint, but just saying.
Yes.
God bless you.
Not that we're cynical about Washington, D.C.
No, we can't
by
be.
any means.
It's a town we love.
Yes, it is. Beautiful city, but it's nice to have a blessed coming or a venerable coming along. Again, it's World Villages for Children, and you can go online to learn more about them at worldvillages.org/donation-EWTN. You can also call them 866-947-9004, and be sure to watch this special tonight. It's called Unfinished Symphony. It's an original documentary by EWTN. We're looking at the mission and life of Monsignor Aloysius Schwartz in post-war Korea. It's great. I already saw it myself. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you for having us, Father.
Great to have you, and I look forward to this video again tonight. And I guess we'll give you all a blessing. May Almighty God bless you and keep you and cause His face to shine upon you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
And
Amen.
we can do the documentary we're presenting tonight and have our guests on tonight only because the network is brought to you by you. That's how Mother Angelica was inspired to organize. So please keep us in between the gas bill, electric bill, and cable bill, and we'll pay our bills. Thank you.